we discussed thoroughly that uh, what is international environmental law, what is all about the environmental law, and the syllabus, how far, how the syllabus of the environmental law has been divided into the various units and the every unit, and the various topics under each chapter or each unit. From this class, we start formal discussion on the various. And today I'm starting the first chapter, that is international environmental law. See, it's obvious that environment is one of the whole earth, but there are various sovereign state on the earth. I think you all are aware. And if you see the United Nations, even the members number of the United Nations is more than 190, and to include all the the various the countries, nations, they are around 200. Okay. And there are various legal system in these countries, and all the legal system are different from one another, but the environment is one. And so it is always a concern that how the environment of this earth can be protected, how the environment of this earth can be make more suitable for the human existence, for the mankind. Now see that one of the obvious reason of deterioration of environment is our increasing industrial activity, overpopulation, and some other unhealthy practice of business and our living style. Now see the international environmental law. Now see the name of this topic, international and environmental law. So basically it includes that branch, or you can say it is that branch of the environmental law that deals with the the international aspect of the environmental law. Okay. Now see, when you observe the various topics, various issues that we included under this particular chapter, international environmental law, you will find that there are various convention, or you can say treaty, between the various nations. And because the international law is very different from the our domestic law. In the domestic law, like in the India, we have the parliament at the central level and the state legislature at the state level. Then according to the constitution, the legislative power has been divided, and accordingly the law on the environment, or the any component of the environment, like water, like the air, like the forest, etc., all these issues, all these entries are categorized whether the central will form the law or the state will form the law. And even if the particular element, even if of the environment is under the state list in the seventh schedule, then also if some states you know make request to the center or to effectuate the international obligation entered by the center can make the law. And obviously the various legislation that during our previous classes, like the its Environmental Protection Act or the Public Liability Insurance Act, or it may be like the Air Act or Water Act, all these are legislation enacted by our parliament. But the problem at the international level is there, that in the international law, as such, there is no legislative forming authority at the international law. And I think you all have that experience and some knowledge of the international law, because international public international law is one subject that you all read during the first semester of the LLB course. Now, how the law making is done at the international level, that there is that question. The law making, because all the states are sovereign. Okay. And after 1945, we have this United Nation. Before that, there was also the League of Nation, and it was the failure. So League of Nation had not worked so well, and then the Second World War, and later on the United Nation came into the existence. But before the United Nation came into existence, also there was a body of law. There was law that deals with the various countries at that time, and that is known as the international law. Some jurists, some scholar even have criticized that international law is not a law; it is the public morality. And the Holland is say that the international law is the end of the law. Okay, so that type of the attitude was there, but still now it is a well established the law, or well established body of the law. So at the international law, how is law making is there? Because there are various states, okay, and these are the some of them are the sovereign states, some are under the you can say control of the other state. So these sovereign state, they deal with each other, but in that also there is some rules, some law is required, and that body of rule or law is known as the international law. More comprehensive or concise definition you can from the Stark, etc. They have given that what is the international law, but that is not our concern here. Our concern here is to understand that what is international law and how international environmental law work. So you know that in the international law, as such, there is no law-making body, and so the states, the nation, you can say, or the states is the proper term. So the states, they make treaty. They because no state in this world can be remain independent, or cooperation is always required, exchange of things is all required. So always there is, like we in the domestic law, various human being make the contract. So in the international level also, at international level, various states also make treaty, make the negotiation, make the deal with each other. And then in that also, the rights and obligation can be categorized. There are some treaty that have the law making characteristics. I think you all have read that things of the international law. So the cooperation is required, and when the international at international level, United Nations came into the existence, and one of the principle of the United Nations is to resolve the dispute of the various states without violence. And so the means of the treaty, and then suppose that treaty has not been complied by one state, then the judiciary also required. So International Court of Justice was established, and the charter of the International Court of Justice is along with the United Nations. So that decide the dispute. So basically it is to ensure to fulfillment of the principle of the United Nations, that there is, if there is any dispute between the states, that must be resolved without violence, without any conflict. Okay, and in that way, in that fashion, the international law is created. On the international environmental law, the first thing, that even before the United Nations came into the existence, there was a dispute between the United States of America and the Canada. And in that dispute, the first principle of the international law was settled. International law was well established, and that was sic ut, that the liability of transboundary harm. So sometime, the examiner asked this question. I'm writing that what is this Latin word SIC? Okay, SIC. You can write it in the italic. SICU. So this is sic ut means liability for transboundary harm of the nation. So, basically, there was this mining process, and in this mining there is smelting, one of the process. and during the smelting, a lot of carbon dioxide is released. So what happened that in 1896 a smelter was started under the American guidance, or you can say the auspices, near the locality known as the Trail. It's a place in the Canada, British Columbia. In 1906, the Consolidated Mining and Smelting Company of Canada, Consolidated Mining and Smelting Company, that was incorporated under the authority of the Canada. Like in India, also you can form a company. So that company was formed, and you know, then this company later on, with the passage of the time, became a very you know prominent, you can say, the company, and they added more plant of the smelting. In 1925 and 1927, two stacks of plant were also constructed, and they are of the height of 409, and there were this smelting process every day. And because of this smelting, the carbon dioxide has to be released in the sulfur dioxide in the that atmosphere. And in 1960, about 5,000 ton of sulfur dioxide per month were emitted. Per month, 5,000 ton, tons of the sulfur dioxide. So this was the the you can say, these are the facts that this plant was working. Okay, so this smelting plant that located at a trail in the British Columbia, and this caused, through the air drift, this sulfur dioxide also has effect on the American soil, on the American city, and the America then raised the dispute that because of this smelting plant, there is the harm to the property, and the grazing fields, to the crops, to the business community, etc., etc. They have argued, and so the Canada should be refrain from doing this activity. Now, with this respect to the in 1935, there was a treaty, you can say, between the or convention between the United States and the of the America and Canada, and under this convention, the tribunal was constituted. So this tribunal has finally awarded its order, and that award was in 1941. So this dispute was settled between the United States of America and the Canada. This was not the one dispute. There are other dispute also settled even before the 1945, then United Nations came into the existence. But the peculiarity of this dispute, that is known as trail smelter arbitration between United States of America and the Canada, is that basically in this particular case, the question was the pollution caused by one nation through air, or you can say the air pollution to the another nation, that caused the harm into the another nation. And for that, whether this nation which caused the pollution, it can be uh, they make a liable and to pay the damaged country. So under which international law that has to be allowed, that has to be decided by the arbitration. With this case, there are other cases also there in the international law. The dispute was settled in the peaceful manner. Okay, but the important thing is that with this decision, the international environmental law started, that even for a dispute with respect to the pollution also, that can be settled. And for the pollution, for creating the pollution, for the pollution creating the harm to the territory of the another, that can also be indemnified well. Okay, so with this remark, we start this our first discussion of this case. The name of the case I'm writing in the chat box. You find your case material. The case material I have shared, or already I have shared, and that you can uh, you know print take the print of that, and in hard copy also you can read. or in the soft copy also read. Okay, so please open this case, trail smelter arbitration, United States versus Canada. The full citation I have not written because this is the name of this case, and this is the first case provided in your case material. Okay. Now see, come to the case. On the first page of this case, you will find that there was a dispute with respect to the smelting plant that located in the trail, near the trail, a particular place in the British Columbia of the in the dominion of Canada. And this with respect to this smelting plant, the harm was caused due to the fumigation, the air pollution caused by the smelting, because every month in the thousands of ton sulfur dioxide was released by this particular plant. And with that, a tribunal was constituted under, and its power is derived by the convention between the United States of America and the Dominion of Canada. And to this particular tribunal, uh, duty was imposed to decide the four questions. And these four questions were also mentioned in the first page of the case. The first question was whether damage caused by this particular plant, trail smelter in the state of Washington, has occurred since the 1st January 1932, and if so, what indemnity should be paid therefore. The second is that in the event of the answer of the first question is affirmative, so suppose if the answer is that yes, indemnity has to be paid, then whether the trail smelter should be required to refrain, that means to not to carry on this activity, from causing the damage in the state of Washington in the future. And third, in the light of the answer to the preceding question, what measures or regime, if any, should be adopted or maintained by the trail smelter. And the fourth is what indemnity or compensation, if any, should be paid on account of any decision rendered by the tribunal pursuant to next two preceding questions. So basically the four question. First question is that the damage that is caused by the trail smelter plant to the state of the Washington, to the, you can say that, to the state of America. So whether that liability to pay the damages is of that the Canada or not. If that liability is there, in that case, because for saying that there is liability, you have to decide that damage has been caused. The second question is, can the trail smelter be refrained from doing that activity? Third question is that if there is liability and the damage caused by the this trail smelter plant and the Canada, so can what um, uh, you can say the measures or regime should be adopted so that in the future there would not be any harm to the state of Washington. And then that how much amount has to be paid. So basically these four questions: is there any liability? Second is, if there is liability, then should it be refrained from doing the activity in the future? Third is basically that what measure should it be adopted so that there would not be any such damage or harm by this air pollution. And fourth is basically that how much amount has to be paid for the damage that already been caused by the trail smelter plant. Okay. Then in the second para on the first page of this case is about the facts of the case, that how this plant was established. So basically, this plant was run out by this company, Consolidated Mining and Smelting Company, that incorporated in the Canada, and later on, more, uh, you know, that plants were erected, and these plants have huge height, nearly of 500 meters, and they are releasing the sulfur dioxide, because sulfur has to be removed during this whole process of smelting. Okay. Then in the second para you will find that how that first question has to be decided. Now the first question is that whether the damage is caused to the state of Washington, or in the larger you can say the damage is caused to the state of United States, because the state of Washington is one of the state, like Rajasthan, Haryana, in the state, are various states in the India. So in country United States, the damage that is caused to this particular state, state of Washington, whether that damage has been caused after 1932 or not. In that respect, the tribunal has considered the item like damage in respect of the cleared land, like damage with respect to the cultivated land, damage with respect to uncultivated land, then damage with respect to the property in the town of Northport, damage with respect to the business enterprises, and the damage with respect to the livestock. So these four, five, 4 5 criteria has been you know categorized, that to include, to find out that whether there is any damage that is caused to the United States. So the first they analyze that whether there is any damage to the this cleared land, that means the cultivated land, the land on which the crops are growing. And for that, this is something very scientific, because there are always question that during the month of November, the air quality of Delhi deteriorated, and this is because of the stuff burning in the nearby areas like Haryana, Western UP, etc. So similarly, whether this trail smelting plant that is working into the territory of the Canada, and obviously through the that this air drift, that pollution also come into the territory of the state of Washington, in the America. Okay. So uh, whether it caused the damage to the cleared land or not, and on that the scientific theory, the careful study that has been uh, produced before the tribunal. And this last para on the second page, that is about the finding of this scientific report. And I'm reading this para, that a careful study of the time, duration, and intensity of the fumigations uh, recorded at various stations down the valley reveal. Various station means the various places in the valley, that the number of striking and significant fact. The first of these is the coincidence in point of time of fumigation. The most frequent fumigation is late spring, summer, and early autumn. So obviously there was this effect of this pollution in the territory of you know uh, state of Washington, but the intensity is higher in the spring, late spring, autumn, and summer, and occur during the early morning hours. And these usually are of short duration. A characteristic curve expressing graphically this type of fumigation rise rapidly to the maximum and then fall less rapidly but fairly sharp to the concentration below the sensitivity of the recorder. The dominant influence here is evident the heating action of the rising sun on the atmosphere. On the surface of the earth. This gives rise to the temperature difference, which may often lead to the mixing of the gas carrying the atmosphere with the near surface. When this occurs with sufficient intensity, a fumigation is recorded at all stations at which the sulfur dioxide reaches at a level concentration that is too low to be determined by recorder. Obviously, this effect the rising sun may different on the east and west side of the valley, but the possible bearing of this upon fumigation in the valley must await further study. Then another type of the fumigation occur with especially frequency during the winter month, like in Delhi, and these fumigation are not definitely diurnal in character and usually of longer duration. The tribunal is of the opinion that these are due to the existence of considerable period of sufficient velocity of gas carrying air current to cause the mixing of this with the surface atmosphere. Whether or not this mixing is of sufficient extent to produce a fumigation, which will depend on that a rate with the surface air is diluted by the surface winds, which serve to bring in air from outside contaminated area. So basically, with these paras, you can say that through the scientific study, it was finally decided and proved that because of this smelter plant, there was an air pollution in the area of the state of Washington in America, and this was during the autumn, spring, and the winter. But in the you know during the autumn season this was very less, but in the winter season it was high and the intensity, and then there is a whole process of mixing of the air, etc., and that can be observed at the old station of the the state of the Washington. So basically, from then the next para also basically from these three four paras, it was proved that the trail smelter plant caused the air pollution, and that air pollution has effect into the territory of the United States. So that is the outcome of these four para. Then the next question is that yes, there is air pollution. Whether this air pollution has any damage to the four five things. First thing is on the cultivated land, the clear land, the uncultivated land, the livestock, the हमारे होते हैं ना बैल घोड़े गधे इस तरह से that have wool or milk producing animal, etc. Then on the business also, etc., etc. So these four categories basically were there before the tribunal. Why? Because to find out the tribunal का क्या है, पहला तो ये देखना है कि yes ये इफेक्ट करता है कि नहीं करता है, और यूनाइटेड स्टेट ऑफ अमेरिका को कंपनसेशन मिलना चाहिए कि नहीं मिलना चाहिए. सेकंड थिंग कि कंपनसेशन मिले तो कितना मिले. अब हाउ टू फाइंड आउट दैट कंपनसेशन, because I think you all are aware that in Indian Contract Act 1872 there is this section 73 about the damages, and for that damages I think you read this Baxendale case. This section 73 of the Indian Contract Act basically depend on the Hadley Baxendale case, and there this remote damages cannot be claimed. Then how that damages has to be calculated. So similarly here, before the tribunal, out of all four question, the one of the that is to find out the amount of the damages also, and for that because this is not a legal question, first you have to find out the scientific report, the proper data on that particular aspect, that only you can decide. So with the scientific report, it found that through the various theories, yes, there is no pollution and the damage is caused. Then to damage to the various factors also analyze. The first with respect to the cleared land used for the crop, the tribunal found that damage through the reduction in the crop yield due to the fumigation has occurred in the various degree during the year from 1920, 1932, 33, 34, 35, 36. Okay, so the first damage to the state of America was proved, and this damage to the crop, because the yield of the crop per hectare was reduced during this period because of this high level of the sulfur dioxide in the air, or you can say air pollution. With respect to the unclear land, that is the forest, etc., that are not used for the crop, the tribunal has adopted as measure as applied by the American court the amount of reduction in value of use, etc. Okay, and like the that land that is not used for the crop. So for that, one thing is that the land value is reduced, or the people that live in that area, that rental value is decreased. So that the tribunal is of the opinion that the basis of the estimate of damage contended by the United States applying to the value of uncleared land, a ratio of loss measured by reduced crop yield on cleared land, has no sanction in the decision of the American court. Okay, so that was not proved. Then with regard to damage in respect of the livestock, and in that the United States of America, they contended that there was also the reduction of the yield of the livestock, whether it is milk producing livestock or the wool producing livestock, because the grazing also decreased, and that the tribunal has that satisfied with in the first thing. So but then that is also something that already has been taken care by the tribunal, that the damages to the crop, so that already already has been proved. So a separate livestock loss has not been awarded in that. Okay, the with respect to the property in the town of North Fort, that particular city or particular place in the this Washington in the state of America, the same principle of law apply to the assessment of indemnity to the owners of the urban land, and the measure of the damage in the reduction in the value of rental value of the property or the use of the property due to the fumigation. The tribunal then on this point, because it was also contended by the America, said that as such there is no proof of the damage to such urban property. Like if you see in the Delhi, even because of this fumigation as such, there is no decrease, there is no reduction in the land use in the Delhi, or you can say the rental value of the property in the Delhi. And so there is no proof of the fact sufficient to enable the tribunal to estimate the reduction in the value of use or rental value of such property, and that it cannot adopt the method considered by the United States for calculating the damage to the urban property. With respect to the business enterprises, as contended by the United States, that because of the fumigation, because of the decreasing, the standard and air pollution and less yield of the crop, the overall capacity of the the people of this particular area in the state of Washington has decreased, and because there is the decrease the economic capacity to purchase the product, the business enterprises also suffered the loss. And on that point, the tribunal has said that this is something that is too indirect, remote, and uncertain to be appraised, and such indemnity, such damages cannot be awarded. Okay, then you know the uh, sorry, the United States also alleges that the smelter not only smokes sulfur dioxide and fume, etc. Also, it produced the waste material, and that waste material is discharged through the Colombian River, and that waste material causes the harm to the lower plain, to the lower areas. But that allegation also was without any proof, because proof was not provided that that waste material has to be discharged and it causes damage to the state of America. So with this, the tribunal come at the conclusion that yes, there is an air pollution, and this air pollution affecting in the the territory of the United States, and there is the damage into the cleared land. That means because of the reduction or lowering the yield of the crops, and in because of that, there is consequent damage to the livestock production also. But there is no damage, there is no proof of the damage in the reduction of the property, and damage to the enterprises is very the remote and indirect and unrelated, so that also cannot be taken into the consideration. Then the damage of the property through the pollution caused by the trail smelter plant through water through the this river, Colombian River, is also has not been proved. And with this, the the first question is settled in that particular with this particular uh, finding. Then there is a issue about or you can say the problem of before the tribunal is that how to make the United this Dominion of the Canada responsible, because as such no case of air pollution or the damage caused by one state to the another state through air, or you can say through air pollution, has not been settled so far. And so to substantiate their decision, they have taken into the consideration of the two cases decided by the United States of America. I think you all are aware that how sometimes the domestic court can take the help of the international court, sometimes international courts also can take the help of the domestic court under the sources of international law. When we study public international law, the second topic is about the sources of the international law, and there we see that the sources under the sources of international law is precedent also, and in that case we also read this thing. So the state of Missouri versus state of Illinois, the dispute between the two states of America and decided by the American Supreme Court. Uh, this case is on the page number 10. The finding of this case has been taken into the consideration by the tribunal, and then the another case of the New York against the state of Jersey also taken to the consideration. And with these two cases and the proof of the damage caused to the state of America, uh, it was held by the tribunal that that the tribunal, therefore, this is the last para I'm reading from this case. The tribunal therefore finds that the above decision taken as a whole constitute an adequate basis for the conclusion, namely that under the principle of the international law as well as the law of the United States, no state has right to use or permit the use of its territory in such a manner as to cause the injury by fumes or to the territory of another, or the property or the person therein, when the case is serious consequence and injury is established by clear and convincing evidences. Considering the circumstances of the case, the tribunal hold that Dominion of the Canada is responsible in the international law for the conduct of trail smelter, because basically the harm was caused by this company, this trail smelter, not by the Canadian government. But the international law, as these few lines I read, that under the international law, it is the state responsibility not to cause harm by itself or allow the harm to be caused by any authority, any body on its territory. Okay, so under these circumstances, the tribunal hold that the Dominion of Canada is responsible in the international law for the conduct of trail smelter. Apart from undertaking in the convention, it is therefore the duty of the government of Dominion of Canada to see to its that this conduct should be in conformity with the obligation of the Dominion under international law as herein determined. So the first question was held in the affirmative that yes, there is this indemnity and the damages should be, allowed to the United States of the America. Then the next question is that how much damages? And for that, there is on the page number this 10. In the last, not on the 10, it is on, yeah, on the page number 9, the last para that about the damages. In conclusion, the tribunal answer the question 1 follow that damages caused by the trail smelter in state of Washington has occurred since the 1st of January 1936 to the October 1937, and the indemnity to paid therefore is of $70,000, $78,000, and is to be complete and final indemnity. That means it is the indemnity or damages for livestock, for yielding of crop, all etc. Okay, occurred between the such states. Interest at the rate of 6% per annum will be allowed on the above sum of $78,000 from the date of filing and decision until the date of the payment, and this decision is not subject to alteration or modification by the tribunal thereafter. The third question that obviously we have already answered that yes, the the trail smelter, yes, there should be the some regime that should be according to the international law, and that international law that you can use your territory in any fashion, but the use of territory or allowing the use of your territory that causes damages to the another state is not allowed under the international law. So that you use any measure by which that pollution should not, and that the smoke should not, fumigate should not be into the territory of the United States. Okay, so all four questions have been decided in this particular that case by the tribunal. And with this case, one thing that the settled, and that is very very important, and that is the that the no nation state has the right to use or permit the use of its territory such that it causes injury or harm to the territory of another state or properties or person therein. Okay, the tribunal emphasize the importance of states jointly working together to eliminate the transboundary environmental problem. Okay, so that is the key. Now the see in 1950, after 8 9 years, there was another dispute, and this dispute was between Spain and France. I think you will not find this particular case in the case material, because in the case material only 3 cases are provided, because there is the limitation. Student also have a limit to read and understand the things within one semester. But this case also you can read, you can find out on the internet. And in 19 the dispute related to Lake, I'm typing Lake Lennox arbitration. Lake Lake Lennox arbitration 1957. Okay, the dispute between Spain and France. Okay, and in this dispute, this principle with respect to the obligation of the state not to use or allow the use of its territory in such a manner to cause harm to the territory or the person or the property present in the another state, you know, was also, you can say is increased in one line that state have the duty to advise their neighbors of activity which could result into the transboundary harm. Okay, so this transboundary harm, or you can say the environmental issue at the international level that also got the recognition from these two cases. Now after that, in this nuclear technology also came into the existence, and further development with respect to the oil pollution and this damages caused through the this nuclear, you can say, technology also recognized, and various principle has been developed at the international level. One is this obviously the liability of the transboundary harm, this sic utea. Then there is precautionary principle, polluter pays principle, environment impact assessment, sustainable development, intergenerational equity, etc. In the 1950 international, the community also have some convention with respect to the oil pollution in the ocean, and 2 3 years also I have heard this oil spill, the huge oil spill in the ocean or the high sea in okay. So the the liability for nuclear damage also, because the radiation, when you cause attack on one country, it does not only because under the international law the use of nuclear forces has not been um, refrained or disallowed. It is allowed there, but it has to be used only when there is a, the, you can say, the fear of the existence. That is very uncertain thing about the humanity, that in the judgment the United States also has that no, the use of is not disallowed use of nuclear weapon. So later on the various other judgment was at the international level that talk about the international environmental law. Now in this series, the second thing or the second development is United Nation, and the one of the principle, as I have told you, that is about to settle the dispute. And then later on, after 1970s, in the 1950, as I told you, that there were many international cooperation legislation, or you can say the convention with respect to the oil pollution. Then it come to the picture of liability of the nuclear damage also. For that also there is also some you can say the treaty with respect to that. And then in 1972, under the aegis or the direction of the United States of the America, the first convention uh, on the environment happened at the Stockholm. So that Stockholm Convention 1972, the out of Stockholm Convention, and the first decade we will discuss, then the second decade we will discuss, because we have to complete this whole chapter within the 5 6 lectures. So with this, today lecture is over. Now if you have any question, any query, etc., you can ask me. Yes, you are welcome.
सर गूगल क्लासरूम कोड मिलेगा.
Hmm?
गूगल क्लासरूम कोड.
Google Classroom code?
Yes sir, I don't get the invite or mail.
आपको ऐड नहीं किया है क्या मैंने? You send me WhatsApp or you send me message, or you WhatsApp me your email. I will add your email also there. Okay.
Okay sir. Okay.
Basically, this problem is with the our staff that working in the law center one, और उनके साथ भी नहीं, कई बार ऐसे भी होता है, आप लोगों के भी एडमिशन होते हैं ना, कुछ लोग पहले ले लेते बाद में ले लेते हैं। तो शुरुआत की जो मेल आई थी जिसमें एक्सेल में सीट थी, उसमें तो देखो मेरे से तो गलती नहीं हो सकती, क्यों? पूरा कॉपी किया और पेस्ट कर दिया। तो दैट वाज समथिंग बाय द मशीन, सो इट वाज नॉट मैनुअल कि स्किप हो गया हो, तो हो गया, हो सकता है आपका बाद में ऐड हुआ हो, सो दैट्स व्हाई योर नेम इज नॉट देयर। आप मुझे व्हाट्सएप कर दो, मैं उसको जोड़ देता हूँ, ठीक है। एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? यस गाइस, प्लीज आस्क। I understand this topic is slightly boring, but it is very important and very interesting. And this later on when we will discuss domestic law, you will feel that oh ये चीजें तो पहले international level पे recognize हो गई, इसीलिए इंडिया में इसके ऊपर law बना. Okay, so in that respect it is very important from both examination point of view also, and both from your understanding to the environmental law, because law is not something that you read only in India. It is a subject that the same subject, the same thing you read in other with other university also. Okay. Yes, guys, please ask